Well, it's a beautiful evening, and I had some more thoughts that I wanted to share, so I figured I would come on out and do another video for everybody. I think that a lot of people who think that the world hates them are usually one of two kinds of people. The first kind of person is the kind of person that has not yet incorporated a healthy integration of their individualism. And so therefore they see themselves as somebody that is not worth being likable. And then on the flip side, you have the people that are actually evil and they're not likable at all. But it seems to me that a lot of people that have the mindset of most people like me, they seem to be the ones that are most like themselves. They're selfish. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that they are being as themselves. Okay, they are selfish. They're not trying to be selfless, because to be selfless, I think, actually means that you are being yourself less. And so I think this gets a bad rap. A lot of negative dorks out there and the simp gremlins who worship the pink palace and are really just depleted coomers and copers. They want to believe that the world is black-pilled, and for those of you that don't know what black pill means, it's essentially, it just means that you believe that the world isn't worth saving or isn't even worth trying anymore. There's no point to life. And so I'm not this way. I don't think like this. And I don't think that as a person who follows Christ, we need to hate ourselves, or I need to hate myself just because I follow Christ and that's what the churches teach, that's what all the dogmas teach, etc. I want to empower people to prosper, and I want to give people a positive frame of mind, because I know that there's a few different attributes to your character that are hidden away beneath in your unconscious. That is, if you have yet to integrate that healthy, idealized, well, it's not even idealized. It's you are a person who is walking in their values and in their principles, and therefore you are being who you are meant to be. And I think there's a lot of people that find themselves to be relatable to people like this. Even the ones that don't really understand themselves. Even the black pillars, maybe. But one thing that I cannot stand to see is somebody that has this immense potential, and yet they don't do anything about it because they don't feel like they deserve it. They don't feel like they're worth it because maybe it's their environment, they've had a lot of trauma, maybe narcissistic abuse, who knows what could have happened, right? But something that I learned from sports is that even when you're down in the gutters, so to speak, because I was a tennis player and I love playing basketball, but I never played basketball on the high school team or anything, but I was on varsity for tennis all of my years of high school. And I love tennis. I loved basketball more, but I was a better tennis player. And one thing I learned from sports, specifically with tennis, whenever you're facing an opponent, whether that's, just in the sport, but we're going to use this metaphor for life, right? Whenever you're facing an opponent that just doesn't seem to give up. In tennis, we call them pushers. they don't hit the ball too hard. They don't really have a lot of great striking points. But dang it, they just keep hitting that ball back. Like they cannot miss the shot. Their shots aren't great, but they just don't miss the shot. And sometimes these pushers are actually really good at keeping people from really expressing themselves to the fullest. In fact, the pushers in tennis, they really get on the nerves of people that really like to, make it the point fast, quick, and precise and to the point. And if they don't, then what's going to happen is they seem to get frustrated inside themselves. They start to doubt themselves. And that's how the pusher really gets the game. Like the game for the pusher is to just let the other person get inside their own head. And I think what a lot of people are doing in life is they're coming up against these pushers in life, so to speak, right? And it makes them feel as though, they get lost in their own head. They cause their own doubt. They cause their own insufficiencies to live a life that is actually exuberant and expressive and all of these different kinds of things, right? So what I see to be happening with a lot of people nowadays is, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of snakes out there. There's a lot of terrible people. But is it worth being a negative dork and a depleted coomer and a coper in this life? Is it worth it? Because I just don't think that there is anything. Like, the alternative to being those things is to live a life of joy and to see meaning in everything that you do. Live a life so saturated with meaning that you can't possibly perceive life to be any other way because it's just that meaningful. There's something really powerful and potent about this kind of idea and this kind of way of living life. When everything has meaning, you start to see people differently. You start to see people as not terrible people anymore. They're just consumed by things. I had a dream recently where there were many people from the past that tried to come to me in the dream. But when I saw them, I saw that they were consumed by fame. They were consumed by money and all these things. And I told God in the dream, like, I asked God really, like, how am I supposed to have wealth and influence and all these things and keep my sanity? How do I do this? How do I not end up like these people? And the answer is really just create more than you consume. There's nothing wrong with, consuming your fruit, right, that you bear. But it's one thing to consume the fruit that you bear and bear your fruit, because the Bible says we'll know them by their fruits, right? But it's another thing entirely to, there's a reason why there's a saying, you are what you eat. Because in many ways, you are what you prepare for. Okay, you are what you prepare for. And so you have to make sure that, sometimes opportunities and growth, opportunities for growth, they don't wait for anybody. And you have to take that opportunity, sometimes even if you're not really sure you're ready for it. And all you have to do is you have to have the cojones, the balls, if you're a man out there. You know what, even if you're a woman, you have to have fortitude of mind. But specifically in this case as a man, if you want to have the balls to really go out there and, set the balls on the line, because as Scarface says, all we have in this world as men is our word and our balls. You've got to go out there and really put your balls on the line. And you know what? the more that I do this, the more people like me. The more that I do this, the more people have respect for me. And it's not because I'm an uncalculated risk taker, and it's not because I'm just, I'm reckless. I'm bold as a lion, but I'm not trying to be reckless. I'm making very calculated risks and such, and I'm aware of certain things that are going to happen. But the thing is like, people, they really don't understand just how far gone so many people are, that if you just bear your light a little bit, people are going to like you. And no, this doesn't mean you have to tell people everything. And this doesn't mean that, like, because there's going to be weirdos out there too. Don't get me wrong, but there are some freaking weirdos out and about in today's world. Like, there are so many people that are reaping what they've sown in a negative way that I feel bad for them. I don't really wish that on anybody. But something that I have had with God recently was, there was a situation, and I thought to myself, oh man, is this the right decision? I made the decision, and now all of a sudden there's a little bit of doubt creeping in. And I immediately cast that crap out, and I was like, no, that's not what God told me. And then at that moment, I heard God. He said to me, remember, there is no sorrow if you don't need sorrow. That was a very interesting thought. Because, well, number one, it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me, but it was a new thought algorithm too. And this is how God works, right? He just kind of, he moves you in certain ways. At least for me, he moves you in certain ways, and if you just are able to listen, he'll tell you exactly what you need in the moment. He'll tell you what you need to hear. And in that moment, that's what I needed to hear. Remember, there is no sorrow if you don't need it. Sorrow is only there if God sees it fit that we need it. And the thing is a lot of people are just too negative to see the beauty of life. We live in such a cool day and age. Like, this day and age that we live in is absolutely fascinating. It truly is. We can do anything. We are limitless. We are living in an age of novelty in which things that were never possible are now possible. Our spirits are going to transcend this physical dimension. And we know it, and we can share it with people all around the world at once. Do you see how cool that is? Do you see how amazing this life is? And when you have a positive perspective about life, people are going to have a positive perspective about you. It's just that simple. We don't need to be so negative, Nancy-like people, or the Karens. I just thought about the Karens. I don't know if anybody whoever doesn't know about Karen. Karen is basically like the middle-aged woman who nothing has gone right for, and she's wasted her youthful years partying and doing all this and that and whatnot, and now she's bitter. And this is one thing that I think a lot of men and women are struggling with nowadays, is they're trying to not be bitter toward the opposite gender. Or they're just not caring and they're going to be bitter towards the opposite gender. And a lot of this is because they don't have a healthy relationship to their internals. They don't have a healthy relationship with themselves. And I genuinely believe that that's why a lot of people don't have like a happy mindset. And I'm not saying that, happiness is the goal. Happiness is just a byproduct of meaning in life. And I think that's what's going to be most important for people to recognize as we move forward in this life. I have way more responsibilities now than I ever did in my life, in many ways. In many ways, I also feel like it is my responsibility and my sacred duty to give people the truth as I see it, as a messenger for God. I'm only going to be able to show you the door. I can't force you to walk through, and I'm not going to force you to walk through the door. But I will show you it if you want to see the door. And so, in this life, the best thing that we can possibly do is to recognize the correlation between responsibility and happiness, and then also recognize the relationship between happiness and living a life that is pure, honest, and filled with integrity. There's a relationship there. And I want to encourage you and invite you to do so. And with that being said, I also invite everybody to check out the Godlike Mastery Initiation free class this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the description box below to sign up. It's super easy to sign up. So go ahead and check that out so you can get that free class. If you also want to schedule a free 15-minute call with the Regal Change Academy team, where we'll give you a free 15-minute call to answer any questions you have about the Regal Change Academy, that'll be the time to sign up. And then also, if you want to do a one-on-one mentorship with me, now's the time as well. So, with all that being said, I hope that you all have a blessed night. It's a beautiful evening here. It's been a pretty warm few days, but today it's been a little cooler, but the sun's still out and it's still really beautiful. So I might just bring my laptop out and work the rest of the night here until the sun goes down, which probably won't be too long from now, but it'll be still nice to do and nice to be out. I don't like working in the office. Like, I have my apartment, I have the office space there, but I don't really like working out in the office if I could work outside. I don't know, it's just there's something more freeing about being outside. And even in the winter times when I do these kinds of videos, I sometimes even just want to go outside to do the videos, because even when it's snowing, because I'm living in the mountains here, and in the mountains we can get up to 2 feet of snow down in here in the valley. I like going outside sometimes every now and again to do videos, even if it's cold, because I just value being outside. I value being in nature. And especially now during the summer times, in the mountain time, or in the mountaintops, it's beautiful, beautiful. Like the grass is so green on the mountains right now. It probably won't be too green within the next month, but wowzers, until then, it's a beautiful time to be alive. But, well, it's always a beautiful time to be alive, but you know what I'm saying. But anyways, I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your night. Peace be with you all. Until next time.